Dr. Lalita, ma'am? Yes.
Yes.
So I think, ma'am, we can take some questions here. I request
Absolutely.
participants, you can ask your queries regarding PCOD in the chat box. Ma'am, let's just wait for 1 or 2 minutes, okay? Participants, any queries regarding PCOD? Ma'am, I have not received any questions. So would you like to explain something more about PCOD, or we can switch to next video?
We can move on to the next video. Somebody has just asked a question.
Okay,
It should be followed. Okay. Now, the diet to be followed is basically something that the person can stick with all their lives. So if there is a lot of junk food involved, someone who loves cakes and pastries and pizzas and samosas, I love samosas, we are not going to stop anything. Everything is allowed. But obviously, the bad stuff in small quantity. So, for example, if the person wants to have a pizza, instead of having an entire pizza on her own, she should have 2 pieces of the pizza, 2 slices. If she likes chocolates, she's allowed a chocolate, but not a slab of chocolate, 2 pieces of chocolate. If she likes cake, a very tiny slice of the cake, but she's allowed. So these are the things. If you go and if anyone goes on a strict diet, that can only last for a certain period of time. For example, a week, a month, even a year. But sooner or later, that person goes back to their old eating habits and the weight comes back. The important thing is to make very, very small modifications in such a way that they are able to stick with it in their life.
Okay, we have another question. What type of problem one faced during PCOD?
What type of problem? So I had mentioned that in the video that the issues that happen are either disruptions of the menstrual cycle, typically in the form of delayed cycle, scanty periods, sometimes heavy periods. Then they can be acne, that means pimples. They can be weight gain. And the interesting relationship of weight to PCOD is that weight gain can trigger off PCOD and PCOD can cause further weight gain. It becomes a vicious cycle. There can be also hairiness of the face and body. And in later years, when a young girl gets married and wants to conceive, she might require help to conceive.
Ma'am, we have another question. They are asking, so delayed period is PCOD? Means they want to ask delayed periods are, matlab, reason are.
Sorry, go ahead.
Ma'am, I was explaining that delayed periods are always due to PCOD, or there are different reasons.
There can be other reasons for delayed periods, but one of the commonest reasons is PCOD. And therefore, we usually run tests to confirm the diagnosis. We don't, just because the person comes with delayed periods, we don't label her as PCOD. We will then corroborate it with a physical examination, and then we corroborate it with some blood tests and especially ultrasound. And putting this whole thing together, we are able to arrive at a conclusion.
Okay. We have another question, how to know menopause is coming. We will come back to menopause at our fourth video. So we will take this question later. One question is, if a 50-year-old is having heavy bleeding, fibroid, should go for removal?
So we are going to the third video is going to be on heavy periods and fibroids. I think we can take this question at that time.
Okay. So shall we start with second video, endometriosis?
A very, very common condition in young girls is of painful periods. and a condition called endometriosis. And if you could please run that video.
Okay. So, ma'am, before we go about questions on endometriosis, we have just received two more questions on PCOD. One is,
Okay.
can PCOD can create any problem during pregnancy?
So usually PCOD doesn't create problems during pregnancy, but at times getting pregnant can take time. So sometimes this young lady will require help to get pregnant. It is thought sometimes that in the first 3 months of pregnancy, people with PCOD might have a higher risk of having a miscarriage, but that is not entirely confirmed and proven in medical statistics.
Okay. And ma'am, is there any exercise we can do to prevent PCOD?
So, regular exercise, especially as a combination of some kind of aerobic activity like walking, swimming, running if the person wants. So, some kind of aerobic activity, dancing, aerobic classes, combined with exercises, muscle building, strength exercises. We usually tell our patients have 3 to 4 days of at least 30 minutes of aerobic activity and about a week of strength building and 1 day off.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Now I request all the participants if you are having any queries regarding endometriosis. We have
Or
received one
painful.
question, ma'am. Why some one period occur heavy bleeding? I think we want to ask why
Didn't
first day is
understand.
heavy. Yes, ma'am, you got the
Why
question.
is the first?
Yes, ma'am. Someone is
Maybe they
asking
can send the
why.
question again.
Ma'am, please. Sorry, ma'am, please speak.
Yes, I haven't understood the question.
Okay, question is why someone period occurs heavy bleeding? I think she's experiencing one period with heavy bleeding and another period with low bleeding.
Right. So we'll be discussing the very next video is going to be on heavy periods, and you might get some information on that. And after that video, even if you don't ask the question again, I will answer this question.
Okay. So I think we should switch to our next video, ma'am.
Go to the next video on heavy periods.
So, ma'am, now we can take our question which we received earlier, which is if
Yeah.
a 50-year-old is having heavy bleeding, fibroid, should they go for removal?
So, is a 15, 5 or 50?
50.
50. So if she's a 50-year-old lady with heavy bleeding due to fibroid, then first of all, the hemoglobin level should be done. If hemoglobin is hovering around 11, 12, that means she's not really anemic. She's managing to control her blood levels and keep them high. What we would rather do is give her medicines every month to control the bleeding, to bring it to acceptable levels, and to give her iron supplements to build up her hemoglobin. And if she is able to tolerate, sooner or later her menopause will come at 50 years of age, and then we can avoid the surgery altogether. After menopause, these fibroids and the problem goes away. However, the same 50, if her hemoglobin has dropped, for example, to 8 grams or 7 grams, that means that the bleeding is so much that her body is not able to handle it. Then it is important that we don't let the fibroid and we don't let this bleeding affect her general health. In that case, we have to do a surgery. So the decision for surgery is taken after taking all these different parameters into account.
Okay, ma'am, we have received another question. She's saying that my daughter age is 11. She matured
Yes.
at the age of 10. Once in two
Okay.
months, she will get date with heavy bleeding and pain.
Yes. So this can happen in the early part of the establishment of the menstrual cycle. Uh, the uh, the cycle has not yet become very efficient. It's like a new machine which is facing teething problems. And it sometimes after a few months it becomes okay, or after a couple of years. But occasionally we come across girls where the bleeding is so heavy that it can create a problem. And this is often due to hormonal disturbance, not necessarily PCOD. We call this puberty menorrhagia. And this is again because of the cycles having yet been established properly. It is important to go to a gynecologist. Gynecologist will put her on some kind of cyclical treatment months. After that, usually will become okay, because it's in a way like kickstart cycle and making it okay. A bit like a
Okay, so I think someone is experiencing a lot of leg pain during her period. So she's asking why this leg pain is occurring at each and every period.
so if it is happening at each and every period, then she should for an ultrasound of the uterus and ovaries soon after the period, just as the period is coming to an end, and see ovaries, which could be suggestive of endometriosis.
Okay, we have received one more question. What causes scanty flow?
Scanty flow can happen due to PCOD, as I had just described. It can also happen due to another hormonal imbalance where the one hormone called prolactin, those levels go up. We commonly see this happening these days in people who are having a lot of acidity, and they are taking medicines for acidity. You know, the type of medicines like Pantocid, Pantoprazole, these kind of acidity medicines, they can cause one hormone called prolactin to go high in the body, and then the periods can become scanty. So that's another common cause of scanty periods.
Okay, so I think, ma'am, we should move to another video of ours. Okay.
Yes. So we move to the next one, which is on menopause.
Participants, now you can ask your queries in the chat box. This was the last video. Okay. We have received one question. What precautions or care should be taken during and after menopause?
So one very, very effective thing, because bone affected after menopause. So regular weight bearing exercise, and the kindest, gentlest, simplest weight bearing exercise is brisk walking. So walking, what we are doing is we are putting weight on the bones, and thereby the bones are becoming strong. Taking calcium supplements along with that. So a combination of taking calcium and vitamin D supplements along with a regular walk, the bone health. Also, walking will keep the heart strong. It will keep the weight under control. So one important thing to do is regular exercise, especially weight-bearing exercise. For example, otherwise swimming is a fantastic exercise, but swimming is not a weight-bearing exercise. It's not going to particularly help the bone. So if a person enjoys swimming, they can add walking and swimming. Calcium supplements. Again, this is the time. This is the time for a lot of women to improve their, mental status, for some kind of a yoga or meditation. Particularly, this is the time when they can focus on health, because still this have already gone off to college, or they have gone for their still going to office. These people, it is even called syndrome. And at this point of time, some ladies can even get depressed because they have an empty nest. And for this is the time they can start focusing on their own hobbies and on themselves. And because they have the time to do so.
Okay, ma'am, we have another query. She's saying that I am 37 and in date bleeding is for 1 day. Is this menopause? My mother got menopause at the age of 40. Is this hereditary?
So the age of menopause is often genetic. It'll be a similar age of menopause in different women of the family, mothers, daughters, sisters. And if at 37 the periods have become scanty, then definitely this person should go to a gynecologist who would run certain hormonal tests and an ultrasound, and with the combination of those tests and ultrasound, be able to figure out whether it is an early menopause approaching, or whether there is a like PCOD or high prolactin levels, which might be the cause of this scanty period.
Okay. Another question is submucosal fibroid. Is it cancerous?
I cannot hear you.
Ma'am, submucosal fibroid.
Yes.
Submucosal fibroid, is it cancerous?
Cancerous. No, submucosal fibroids are not cancerous. Less than 1% of fibroids are cancerous. However, submucosal fibroids are the ones which can cause very heavy bleeding, because they're located in a way where they're very close to the lining of the uterus, which is what bleeds every month in menopause. And these ones, even when they are small in size, can cause heavy bleeding and can cause a lot of anemia. So mostly the submucosal fibroids do require to be attended to surgically.
Okay, ma'am. Another question is when is hormonal therapy is recommended?
For what condition? In the field, hormones are given left, right, center for different conditions.
Okay, so now I request participant to ask in what condition you are requiring hormonal therapy. During menopause. ma'am, during menopause.
One replace therapy because the women was being given, literally like make life easy, all for it. It was given there, and women, the symptoms went away. Showed that risk of breast cancer, hormone replacement therapy had a so one study was down. Oh no, this study is wrong. But then another very study, 1,000,000 women who have and the compared to those who had never taken hormones, and the cancer significantly higher. For someone who is not menopausal symptoms, them we it helps simply by knowing that somebody understands what and that they're not being crazy and they're not dying. For the rest of the 20% who continue to have a lot of problem with the menopausal symptoms after the program, and definitely do a mammogram. There are close monitoring without requiring external help.
Okay. So, ma'am, another question is there any treatment to restrict menopause?
Is there any treatment to?
Restrict menopause. Restrict menopause.
Well, if what you mean is that you would be menopause therapy,
Okay, ma'am. Another question is what is bulky uterus?
what is
What is bulky uterus? Ma'am, question is what is bulky uterus?
what is bulky simply means it's large in size. So it may be enlarged either due to fibroids or due to another condition called adenomyosis. So bulky is simply large, enlarged. It is bigger than normal.
Okay, so bulky uterus have any impact on menses?
Usually, if the uterus is large, either due to fibroids or adenomyosis, it can lead on to heavy periods.
Another question is what are the psychological problems during menopause?
The psychological problems during menopause can be a sense of sadness. There can be a lot of irritability. I have described that the person can be very short-tempered at that time. And there can be what we call an empty nest syndrome. The children have grown up and left their homes. There are often aging and ailing parents and parents-in-law, and the baby can start feeling very alone at that time. And there can be an extreme sense of loneliness.
Okay, so ma'am, another question is My wife has a violent mood swings during and before
Sorry,
periods.
please, just one moment, please.
Okay.
Could you repeat it, please?
Yes. Ma'am, question is, my wife has violent mood swings during and before periods. Does this require
Yes.
medical help or common to have such symptoms?
If they are violent, are you able to hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
If there are violent mood swings, then obviously medical help is needed. And this is a condition which is called PMS, premenstrual syndrome. And in this, due to the hormonal changes, due to the natural hormonal cycle, some people can react more than what is usual. And if the mood swings are very slight, then simply explain it good enough. But if, as the question says, they are violent,
Okay. Any other questions from participants? Participants, please ask your queries. Ma'am, I think we are done with all the questions and it's time. I think we have reached the time limit also. So let's conclude this session. Now I would request our Director General NPC, Shri Arun Kumar Jha sir. Sir, please give a vote of thanks to our panelists and to all the participants.
Thank you, Kalpana. Dr. Badwar. It has been really a very, very impressive and well session. The best thing I like about this is already prepared in advance about this session and beautifully divided into three parts. I could not understand much, but what I could understand that every person, every lady who has got this kind of message, she and her family is going to be all right for the next time to come. So I think that all our participants must have been very, very satisfied. And on behalf of National Productivity Council, whose motive is to enhance the productivity of each and every person, this session would prove to be quite useful. And those who have missed it, I am going to promise to them that it will be on the YouTube and you will continue to see, understand the things which we do not understand so far. Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you, Dr. Badwar. Thank you, Ajmer Singh ji. And thank you, Kalpana.